show is that of the Seniors Rock Show and does not reflect the views or policies of this station or iHeartMedia.
Welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by the Law Office of Michael Robinson, PC, on News Radio, Wham 1180. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shining a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now from the News Radio Wham 1180 studio in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Good afternoon. I am Joanna Palvino. I'm your host for the next hour, and I am here with my co-host, estate planning and elder law attorney, Michael Robinson. We're here every week and Saturday, noon till 1. So jot that on your calendars. We've got a great show planned ahead, and with us in the next hour is our friend Maureen McGuire. And you might be wondering where she's been. She has not been on TV, which is, kind of odd because she was on for so many years. But she's here to tell us about it. So she's retired, and she'll tell us what that is like. And I bet she's pretty busy anyway, because she is organizing, as she does every year, a group to go on the Alzheimer's walk. She'll tell us about that. Dan Geen from Genesee Valley Physical Therapy is he probably could, knowing him, but he's celebrating Physical Therapy Month, and he'll be a guest later in the show too. So there's lots going on. We're officially in the autumn season, and October, as we like to say, Rocktober, is right around the corner. So we're going to talk about some things today that are good to remember and raise awareness. And among them, coming up in October, and we'll get into some of those things during the month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That is something that we're all aware of, I think. National Hispanic Heritage Month, 9/15 through October 15th. Adopt a Shelter Dog Month, and that's important to me because I love dogs. Long-term care planning, something everybody should be aware of, and that is this coming October. And we are going to get into that more. It's been in the news a lot, and I know Mike knows that. We talked about it earlier. Speaking of Mike, if you're talking long-term care planning, it's something you should be talking to with an estate planning attorney like Mike, and he's one of the best around, and he's here with us every week. So I hope that you'll tune in and get his advice, and I'm going to go for him now. Mike Robinson, you got any advice for us this week?
Hey there, Joanna. Happy Saturday, and it has been a busy week. We got all of the items you mentioned, and of course, Wednesday afternoon, the fall equinox. So now we are officially into fall, which is my favorite season. Got a head start on my firewood over the past week, so that feels good. And you know what? And I think I had mentioned this to you. I met another listener, and that's always fun. So I wanted to say hello to Arlene. She listens to us every Saturday and enjoys the show. And it's always good to get that feedback.
It is. It's really fun. And folks, you can give us feedback anytime on the website, seniorsrockradio.com, on the comment page. And we always share the information, and it feels good because we're talking into microphones. We'd love to hear from you. So if there's anything for a future show, please don't hesitate. If you want to just say hi, tell us what you like, don't like, we are here. So thanks for bringing that up, Mike. And what else is going on?
Well, it is Ryder Cup weekend. And for all the golf fans out there, and yesterday the U.S. took a 6-2 lead over the Europeans after the matches. And this morning, if anyone's interested, the U.S. is up in 3 of the 4 morning matches, and Europe leads the other. So let's hope the U.S. team keeps going. And the other thing that happened this week, as often does, is we encountered another situation that I thought would be a great example for this week's edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where every week, of course, we take a case study that we draw from real client situations that we've encountered over the years, And we look at the good, the bad, or sometimes the downright ugly of those situations, and most importantly, the lessons to be learned from those situations. And as you know, each week I want to be sure that these examples are relevant to our listeners, so we don't choose, strange situations, but we look instead at situations that are pretty common. And I am going to change it up a little bit today, because I'm actually going to have us look at two case studies, because they both illustrate an important lesson, but they do so in slightly different contexts. So in the first case, we were contacted by a man whose father recently had died. The father had told his son that he would inherit the father's house. And the son asked the father if he had a will that stated that. And the father told him not yet, but that he was going to get to it. Well, the father never did get to it, and he died without a will. So instead of the house going to the son, instead it had to be split among the son and several children of the son's deceased siblings. And not only that, but because of the number and ages of the children involved, the court proceeding for the intestate administration was drawn out, it was expensive, and the son ultimately received very little from his dad's estate. And in the second case, we were contacted by a woman whose father had recently died, and her father had met with an attorney a few months prior to have his will done. And the attorney had mailed him a draft of the will to review before signing. And this woman had seen the will sitting on her dad's dining room table a number of times and had asked him about it. And each time he told her he started reviewing the will but hadn't yet finished reviewing it. Well, here again, the father then died before signing his will, and now the estate was required to be distributed in a way that, according to his daughter, was not at all what the father would have wanted. So, with respect to the good, the bad, and the ugly, this is all just ugly. But these two case studies, along with countless others I could share, they do provide an important lesson and also maybe a best practice idea. And Joanna, I know you've heard me say many times that the number one reason people don't have proper estate planning is procrastination. And that is the number one lesson here. So many people put off their estate planning because they believe they'll have time to get it done eventually. And even when they hear stories about people who die or become incapacitated without planning in place, they'll say, well, that kind of thing happens to other people, not me. Well, guess what? That's what those other people said too. The reality is none of us knows when the unexpected will happen, but it is going to happen to each and every one of us. Putting off our estate planning is a game of Russian roulette, and our families are the real losers. And Joanna, there's no reason to put it off. We're fortunate here in the Rochester area to have many fine estate planning attorneys. And all of the ones I know have the ability to meet virtually with folks, so there really is no reason not to get the planning done. And then the best practice idea has to do with sending documents to clients for their review. We stopped doing that nearly 30 years ago, and for exactly the reason that we saw in the second case study. You know, other than me, maybe, and a few other crazy people, nobody enjoys reading legal documents. Many people find them not only to be drudgery, but even intimidating. And so the documents sit there for weeks, months, even years sometimes, and then there's a death or incapacity event and the family is in trouble. So our practice has been, and this is a practice shared by all members of the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys, is to have a meeting with clients to go over their documents together, explaining each document's function and the various provisions so that A, we keep the process moving for the client, and B, the client has a better understanding of and a higher comfort with the documents and how they're going to work to implement the client's plan. So I just put that out there as a practice that others may want to consider rather than simply sending documents to clients and asking the clients to call if they have questions.
Well, I've learned a lot again today. I don't know how you keep coming up with these things, Mike, but I know they're from true life stories, so thanks for that. And I cringed a little bit when you were talking about procrastination because I think we all do it, and we don't mean to, of course, but there's things you don't really want to do, and so of course you put them to the end of the list. Estate planning, guys, is not something you should do that with, and I guess the bottom line for me is that you're in denial if you are thinking it'll never happen to me or my family. So the other thing that I picked up on was reading documents, which I hate to do. And I don't know about anybody else, but I don't have a lot of time for that. And everybody gets everything in little snippets now. So I would be jumping through it, if anything else. Review together with someone who can explain, like Mike, the legalese, and get up to date on anything that has to be changed. I think that was really important. And I'm going to mention real quick, because I hear the music, that there's a webinar coming up. Mike's webinar is coming up this month, October 20th at 2. Go to mrobinsonlaw.com. Register. You won't be sorry. We'll be right back.
Autumn in New York, why does it seem so inviting? Autumn in New York, it spells the thrill of first nighting.
Well, hello, we're back. I'm Joanna, your host on the Seniors Rock Show, and on the line with us now is Maureen McGuire, and she, I think, was in New York recently. We'll ask her about that in a minute, but I don't think I have to do much introduction for Maureen. She's a news broadcaster and advocate for the elderly, that's for sure, but she spent many years on television, and I've had several people ask me in the last few weeks, or tell me, we miss Maureen on the air. We miss seeing her. So I wanted to be sure that you knew she's okay, and she's with us now. And with no further ado, I'll say, welcome, Maureen. How you doing?
Oh, welcome. I'm so glad to be here, Joanna. And I have to say, you were at a retirement party for me, about a month and a half ago. And it was really great to see you there. I hope you had fun.
Oh, it was so much fun. And I'll tell you, she got roasted by a Sister of St. Joseph imposter. I think, is it Sister Contestable? Is that her name, Maureen? I can't remember the name.
The Reverend Mo.
Oh, Reverend Mo. Okay, I knew there was one of those names. Anyway, she was hysterical. I was cry laughing for at least 20 minutes. It was awesome. But to see the love that you got, I mean, it had to feel so good. What a great way to exit, and go into and open those doors to retirement.
Yeah, I've felt the love in all respects, and my sincere wish is that everybody pays attention to the folks who love them and cheer them on every step of the way. We all have those people in our lives, and because so letting it sink in every once in a while and taking it in is really special. And it certainly was a nice thing to have happen to me. That's for sure.
Yeah, for everybody there, Maureen, it was great. It was great to see some faces I haven't seen in a while. Rebecca LeClaire and several people that the folks that are listening would recognize right away from even their first name or just their faces. So it was quite a trip, and it was a nice tribute to you and well deserved. So I'm wondering now, though, and I think maybe the listeners are wondering. I know right after you left the job, and it's only been 7 weeks. You said, once a journalist, always a journalist. And that kind of stuck with me. And I wondered what you meant by that. And if it's the same now as when you said it, when you first retired.
Well, what I mean by that is when you're a journalist, you sort of start looking at the world a certain way. You learn to plug into your curiosity right away. Like, oh, wait, there's a story there. You could be walking through Wegmans and see something. Oh, there's a story there. And because I lived that way for 35 years as a working journalist, I couldn't imagine going through life at least not thinking that way. And what I've found is that it's true. As I sort of navigate my way through plenty of free time, as I start exploring things that interest me that I didn't have time for before, I'm I'm really letting my curiosity lead the way, and it's great. It's very reassuring to me to know that my journalist hat just is still intact,
Yeah, and when you're connected to the internet, it's easy to look things up all day long, because I know I'm the same, and I think Mike is, and anybody who has an interest in a lot of different things, we have access to everything now. We don't have to go to the living room and go into the the old journals. But so I understand what you're saying. I think Mike has a question for you.
Yeah, hi, Maureen. I was just curious, what's it like now? I know you still keep up with the news, but what's it like to be a consumer rather than a producer?
It's kind of stressful. I don't know how everybody does it. That is very different for me. I thought that I would be doing a lot of critiquing as I watch the news. And I've discovered that I was doing more critiquing as a consumer when I was actually working in news than I'm doing now, which is interesting. I'm not doing as much, they should have done this and they did that. I mean, unless there's some sort of egregious error going on, I'm not doing so much of that. But keeping up with the news is much more difficult than I expected it would be. There's so much of it. And when you're working in the news, it's just all in front of you anyway. You just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. When you're just trying to consume it, it can take up your whole day. And obviously, and I don't know, I don't think that's very healthy, obviously. So I have found that it's really difficult to keep up with everything. And so I've been experimenting a little, maybe an hour in the morning or an hour in the evening or 15 minutes, in the middle of the day, but,
Sure.
Enough. Put the electronic device down. Turn off the TV,
Yay. Good for you. Maureen, we only have about a minute left, or not even, about 30 seconds. But I wanted to say thank you for, coming on the show and telling us what you're doing and that you're okay and you're having fun. It sounds like you're getting, used to retirement. So we'll have you on again soon, I hope. But tell people about the Alzheimer's real quick where they can get info.
Okay. We can't raise money for the Alzheimer's Association without this community support. It's a great community. Our Walk to End Alzheimer's is at Frontier Field on October 9th. 9 a.m. is registration. The walk kicks off at 10 a.m. We're COVID protocol. We're following all COVID protocols. We're excited to be together again. Our goal is to raise money to make sure that the tens of thousands of people in this community who live with Alzheimer's and the caregivers who care for them are supported by the Alzheimer's Association. And
Thank you, Maureen. We're going to have to go, but alz.org, that's where to get the info. Maureen, we'll have you back again. Thanks so much. We'll be right back, folks.
I feel it in my head, my shoulders, knees and toes, my bones, your music gets me through the highs and lows. My head, shoulders, knees and toes, my bones, you're keeping me from feeling all alone. I've been praying to 1,000.
So that's a different version than I remember when my children were little. I'm attorney Mike Robinson here with host Joanna Palvino on the Seniors Rock Show. And Joanna, as you mentioned earlier, October, which is right around the corner, is National Physical Therapy Month. And that's a time to celebrate the profession and celebrate all the ways that physical therapists and physical therapist assistants and PT and PTA students help improve lives across the country. And our next guest is Dan Geen, who has dedicated many years to improving others' lives. And we think he's doing a great job. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks, you guys. It's great to talk to you. It's been a while.
Indeed. So, Dan, tell me, when did physical therapy begin as a profession?
Well, it's a great question, Mike. Actually, if I look back, Hippocrates in 460 BC actually starts talking about using manual techniques to help people relieve pain, and even mentions hydrotherapy. So, 2,300 years ago, I guess it's first mentioned. But Yeah, pretty amazing. But then, in the U.S., it really started to formulate during World War I, like 1917, 1918. And then in 1921, actually, we're at the 100th anniversary, the American Physical Therapy Association was established, and they tried to maybe standardize methods of treatment for certain diagnoses. So it's a sort of a great year for the profession, 100-year anniversary. So that's probably where we were, or probably where we are now.
Interesting. Dan, we all know certain areas of physical therapy, but what are some of the areas that people may not be familiar with?
Yeah, so I generally specialize in the orthopedic end of it, but even within orthopedic, you can separate into sports medicine, total joints, pre- and post-surgical things. But within their education background, you learn about childhood developmental physical therapy, kids not reaching certain milestones, right? There's neurological aspects of physical therapy. Brain diseases, strokes, MS, Parkinson's, spinal cord injuries. Skin therapies like burn. I did a clinical. One of my clinicals back in 1985. I worked in a burn unit and to learn a few techniques back in Cincinnati. So that was a interesting part of physical therapy. You can get into cardiopulmonary as well, and then pain management, which is something pretty big right now. So those are maybe 5 or 6 different subdivisions within the field of physical therapy.
Wow, there are, and I know that you with the 7 locations there for Genesee Valley Physical Therapy. If you just tuned in, we're talking to Dan Geen. He's the owner, and he's very knowledgeable, and that's why we have you on today to tell us more. But I'm wondering, thank you for touching on the education part of it, because you hear some PTs have bachelor degrees, masters, doctorates, and I do know that at your locations you have all different kinds of experts, and we've had the opportunity to have them on, as guests, and it's been great. We've talked about golf, we've talked about running.
Right.
Here's my question now. What's the difference between a PT and a PTA?
Great question. So a PT, obviously, now they're doctors of PT. Back from the 50s to the 90s, you just could only get a BS in physical therapy specifically. Then they went to a master's, and then now it's a doctorate. So it's a 6-year doctorate program. But the profession of a PTA, which is a physical therapy assistant, is a 2-year associate degree. So their emphasis is really on mastering execution of exercise programs, the use of modalities, but they always work under the auspices or authority of a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy. So the doctor of physical therapy will do an evaluation, they'll formulate the rehab program and help establish goals with the patient. And then they also can treat as well, obviously. But some of the treatment aspects have been passed on to the PTA because they're really very highly trained to deliver, the care program that the PT does establish. And they can do some reassessments too, but it really is a nice sort of marrying of the 2 subdivisions within the profession.
That's a great explanation. Thank you, Dan. You make it easy to understand, because it is, you do some complicated work, but you make it very easy. And I'm feeling great, I have to tell you. Tommy over at your Greece location helped me out a lot. I'm still doing those stretches, and I remember, to follow those directions. It makes a big difference in my life. So I think Mike has another question for you there.
Dan, I hear people oftentimes wonder, what's the difference between a chiropractor and a physical therapist?
Yeah, another great question. I think, so in general, chiropractors, and I'm not a chiropractor, and I can't speak for the profession as a whole, so that's my disclaimer. But generally, their treatment programs are more focused around manipulation, generally with the spine, though they do work on extremities as well. Where physical therapists, we are trained in manual techniques as well, but we're really highly trained in exercise prescription. And so we tend to, our profession tends to focus on educating the patient to sort of take care and manage their own problem beyond the time that they see us. So it becomes they become a little bit less dependent on us if we've empowered them to know how to manage their own conditions through exercise. So that's one of the main differences. I know chiropractors generally cannot prescribe exercise. They certainly don't get reimbursed for prescribing exercise. So we're more highly trained in the exercise aspect of it.
Can I jump in here? I just wanted to say there's two things I learned since, meeting you and going to Genesee Valley. The two things are that you don't need a referral from a doctor to go to a physical therapist. And the second thing was that you guys can prescribe things and actually, like a doctor, or you are doctors. I didn't understand that. I always thought that the doctor had to be the lead guy, basically.
Yeah, we certainly love working with physicians closely, but the education background with the doctor of physical therapy allows our profession to really do some differential diagnosing.
There's the music, Dan. We're going to have to go. Thank you. We'll talk to you real soon. But friends, you can connect with all kinds of expert physical therapists any time of the year at any of the 7 Rochester area Genesee Valley locations. It's GeneseeValleyPT.com. And they have a great website, lots of information. So we'll be right back on the Seniors Rock Radio Show on News Radio WHAM 1180.
Well, that one brings back some memories. Joanna, my daughter Sarah, was in the color guard for 1 year when she was, I think, in 5th grade, and that was the song that her group performed to.
I love it. My daughter Emily was also in the color guard, and I used to love going and watching them practice, and I used to travel all over it because it is a beautiful thing. Do they still do that? I don't even know. I don't think so. Not during COVID, anyway.
I have no idea. Idea.
I'll
but
tell
anyway,
you a secret.
welcome back,
Let me tell you a secret. I want to
Sure.
tell you a secret, though. I went over to the school one time after she was already out of high school, and I parked and I listened to the band, and I started tearing up because I missed it.
It's funny. You sit through some of those, especially when the kids are young.
Yeah.
And boy, does that test a parent's love.
Yeah, and you think it's never going to end, right? And then it ends, and you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
So young parents out there, please listen and enjoy those moments.
And I know we have some young folks who listen. I mean, I don't know of any other program, Joanna, that focuses like ours does on aging adults, their families, the professionals that serve elders. And, one item that's been in the news that impacts all of us is this shortage of long-term care beds that we're seeing. And I know that in a future show we're going to be addressing that directly.
Yes, I'm sure
that's certainly a big deal.
Yeah, it's been in the news all week, and I've been hearing it in the GRAPE meetings, the Greater Rochester Area Partnership for the Elderly. Those folks, our members are concerned as well, and we'll be watching what happens. I think it's Monday, right, Mike, that the law goes into effect?
Yeah, Monday is when the vaccination requirement kicks in for all healthcare workers, and everybody is sort of waiting with bated breath to see what is going to happen.
Yeah, so don't worry, folks. You'll be in good hands. There's a lot of people paying attention, but we're going to update you. We will dedicate a show to this because it is something everyone needs to be aware of. And even we get through this next week and everything goes smooth sailing. It's still important for you to understand that you should be planning for these things. And we try to give you good information, and that, Mike, is the kind of feedback I've been getting every week, which is really cool. People usually include in their comments about the show that they like the information and the different information we bring, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help you to go through the aging process or a loved one's aging process to help them. And it is a unique group because we have younger folks. And when I'm saying that, I'm going to do a shout out real quick to Troy Parker, who's 22 years old tomorrow. He was our winner for the Red Wing game. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to Troy and enjoy the game this week. And, say hi to, what are their names there, Mike? What are the names? Mitzi and...
Mitzi and Spikes. Yes, sorry about that.
I just love to put you on the spot. It's just fun because I saw you kind of wandering over there. I feel like a teacher. I caught you.
You got me. So, who else is celebrating a birthday this year is Lifespan. Lifespan is 50 years old, and I understand they're bringing Olympic skater and motivational speaker Scott Hamilton to town on November 15th. And, they just added another service, which at our firm we're definitely going to be taking advantage of. And it's for families who find themselves in conflict over an elder care situation. It's family mediation. It helps families navigate difficult situations, which are really quite common, especially when there are multiple family members with differing opinions about care. So, I can't believe another hour's gone by. As always,